The biggest names in sports are all on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
But I'll tell you, first of all, I was in Arizona. I grew up there. So I used to listen to you on the Gambo and Ash show. Do you remember that show?
Oh, yeah.
And,
good time. Yep.
For those of you who are just listening, of course, Gambo is a huge New York Yankees fan and would love to say the Yankees were going to win every single year in his predictions. So what was a bigger thrill for you, winning the World Series or going on Gambo's show and telling him you beat his Yankees in the World Series?
To be honest, they were probably equal. I mean, I had a very good relationship with both Gambo and Ash, and I always enjoyed. They did a lot of work for ALS and for charity and for skin cancer when I was out there. So I always enjoyed getting on and talking and giving Gambo some crap. When I was leaving Arizona, Gambo was one of the guys pushing for the Yankees to make the deal to get me to go to New York instead of Boston. So,
oh wow,
yeah, I still talk to him actually.
Okay, and I used to love that show. I basically lived and died with that show. I looked forward to it every day. Now, I heard a rumor that after you won the World Series in 2004, in Busch Stadium, you were partying, celebrating, drinking a beer, and you told a reporter from Phoenix, who will remain nameless, and we both know why that is, you said, "Tell Gambo to kiss my backside." Is that a true story?
Probably. Yeah, I would imagine that was somewhere near the truth, if I remember correctly.
Of course, we're speaking with Curt Schilling, World Series champion winner with the Diamondbacks and the Red Sox. One of the things that people love about you is you're a very personable athlete. You have a great relationship.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. You have a great relationship with the fans. You call in radio shows, answer emails. In fact, I remember my brother played the national anthem on his guitar at a Diamondbacks game. You said, "Great job," and he was kind of surprised because athletes don't usually talk to the fans so much. Why do you think that is? Why is it that you're a cut above the rest and have this relationship with the fans the other players don't necessarily?
I don't know that I'm a cut above the rest, but I was a fan long before I was a player. I grew up in the game. My dad, when my dad was alive, my dad always used to tell the story about how on the day I was born, I came home to a ball and a glove in my crib. But I lived and breathed the game before I ever played in the big leagues, so I grew up a fan, and I was always interested I was always as much a fan as I was anything else when I played, so that was always something I got. I understood it.
And it's great, and I hope that all the athletes who are tuning in recognize that as well, because it's a big part of the game. Now, I want to take a little bit to your beginnings, because I know that you wanted to play, correct me if I'm wrong, but you wanted to play for U of A and pitch for them. Was that one of your dreams?
I had wanted to go to ASU.
ASU, okay.
That was, yep. I wanted to go to Arizona State. I came close to signing after I graduated high school, but I actually broke my elbow that summer. And did not sign a contract and went to junior college, which is the best decision of my life. I went to a small junior college in Prescott called Yavapai Junior College, and we had an incredible team. We went to the Junior College World Series, and I got drafted in what was the final January draft in 1986, and I signed after that season ended. And legend has it that in the Red Sox system, if you will, that you had an encounter with Roger Clemens, a weight room encounter. Basically he was telling you got to work harder if you really want to make it. So tell us how much that affected your career. Well, it was a turning point in my career. Actually, it happened in 1991, going into 1992 when I was with the Houston Astros. I'd been traded from the Red Sox to the Orioles, then the Orioles to the Astros, and I was bouncing around, and I was probably on the cusp of being a career journeyman, a mediocre guy, and Roger pulled me aside in the weight room with the Astrodome one day and basically chewed my butt off. He went up one side and down the other, and kind of opened my eyes and made me look at things differently, it wasn't, the next day life changed forever, but it got me to thinking and looking at the game differently, and my career started to change. And 1992, I got traded at the end of spring training to the Phillies, and that began a 10-year run in Philadelphia where I think I established myself.
And did you say after you beat Clemens in Game 7 of 01, hey, thanks for the talk, I appreciate it?
Well, you know what? That was always. I always believe the Lord serves a higher purpose, and things happen for a reason. And when you look at the 2001 season and you realize that Game 7 was Roger versus versus me. And then if you know me and you understand the backstory and the history of my career, you realize how much bigger of a deal it was to me than maybe people knew. Listen, Game 7 New York Yankees World Series is enough, but I had all this other stuff behind it going it was a very personal, very moving experience for me because there was so many backstories to how I got there.
And, of course, in that game, Soriano gets that home run off you.
Ugh.
Did you think, oh, God, that's it?
Listen, that was one of those moments where I made the pitch. The entire at-bat went exactly how I wanted it to go, and I got to the count I wanted to be in. I executed the pitch I wanted to execute, and he hit a bomb. And it's one of those things you have to explain to young pitchers. It's the difference between playing in the big leagues and playing anywhere else. Really good pitches sometimes get hit, and in the big leagues they get hit very far. He hit a bomb, a no-doubt home run on it. What I thought was a great pitch. And I'm watching the ball sail out, and I remember as I turned around to see the ball fly, I turned to my left, and I saw, and I don't know why I picked it up, but I saw Mariano Rivera standing up in the Yankee bullpen taking his jacket off, and my first thought was, I just lost the World Series.
And, of course, though, for our Diamondbacks fan base out there, that was not the case in the bottom of the ninth. Mark Gray starts the inning and gets on base. Yep. So did your team have a lot of confidence, hey, we're down, but we got Mark Grace coming up. This guy's a veteran. He has the most hits in the 90s. How important was it that Mark Grace started off that inning?
Well, I think everybody but me was feeling, I don't want to say good. You never feel good when Mariano Rivera is holding a lead in the ninth inning, especially in the postseason. But I think it was one of the reasons why we were world champions that year. We believed in each other. We had a very firm conviction, a commitment to each other. And, when you think about the guys other than Tony Womack, Mark Grace was probably the one guy on that team you wanted hitting off Mariano. And, he did what Mark had done all decade long, which was go up there with a plan. He understood the pitcher. He knew what was going to happen, and he executed.
And then, of course, the end of the inning, Luis Gonzalez, now looking back at it, it feels like a blast to the outfield, but it was just over Derek Jeter's head. The feeling at that point, obviously we can't feel it because we weren't playing in it, but how would you describe that to the average fan?
It's one of those things, I didn't go back and actually watch that for quite a long time, and the thing that caught me off guard when I went back to watch that the first time was how fast that inning happened. If you go back and watch from Grace's at-bat to Gonzo's blooper, it was like 5 minutes. It seems like an eternity, but the inning happened so fast, and I remember, I'm sitting on the dugout bench, and everybody else is on the railing, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I lost us the World Series. Well, the inning starts to happen, and now me being, I don't know if it's superstitious or what, I don't want to get up out of my seat because I don't want to ruin karma. And the unfortunate part is Randy Johnson happens to be in front of me, between me and home plate, so I can't see anything.
Right.
So I'm peeking around Randy like a 4-year-old and at Christmas time, and it happened so fast. And one of the ironic things, one of the backstories was Jerry Colangelo said before the World Series started that Luis Gonzalez was going to hit a grand slam in Game 7 to win the World Series. And here comes Gonzo, bases loaded, after the year he had, and it was like, oh my goodness, there's no way. Well, then it didn't matter. It didn't need to be a grand slam, but it was an amazing run of emotions because I was as low as I could be when I came into the dugout to, 10 minutes later, we were world champions.
Yeah, it's true. It was a very short inning, like you mentioned, time-wise and amount of pitches. And that World Series, of course, had the backdrop with September 11th. Last September, of course, was the 10th anniversary of September 11th. President Bush threw out the first pitch in Game 3. World Series is big enough as it is. How did that go to just a whole other platform?
Well, it was very powerful. I mean, it was having gotten to know President Bush personally and having the respect I did for him, seeing him go to the mound. I mean, most you look at most politicians, they'll either throw it from the stands or they'll throw it halfway. And
right.
I remember hearing that Derek Jeter went to him when he was warming up in the tunnel and said, if you don't throw it from the mound, they're going to boo you.
Right.
And he had a bulletproof vest on, and I mean, I can't imagine a more challenging environment to throw a ball 60 feet. And he not only that, but he threw a bullseye, which was awesome. It was just an incredibly emotional time. We had gone to Ground Zero as a team when we arrived in New York, and it was very fresh and incredibly an emotional experience for us. And when you look back on that World Series, it if you're not a Yankee fan, it happened exactly how it should have happened. You know, we won the games in Arizona. 3 of the best World Series games almost ever played happened in New York, and they won all 3. And that city got a little bit of a spark, and it was, you know, it's such an incredible place. And you know, I've always had a kind of a love-hate relationship with the Yankees, but the fans have always been some of sports' greatest fans, and that period of time was a testament to the strength and the willpower of not just the city but this nation.
We're speaking with 3-time World Series champion Curt Schilling here on Lewis Live on Israel Sports Radio. Curt, I know you've been asked about this probably 1,000, maybe even 10,000 times. I'm going to phrase it a little differently. Did you ever think that a sock of yours would be in the Hall of Fame?
No, I didn't. But you know what? I think one of my strengths it was being able to focus on the moment and stay in the moment. And you know, I didn't. That whole thing, that whole situation in 2004 was a result of some being surrounded by some incredible people, my faith, and just allowing you know, things to play out the way they played out. You know, Dr. Morgan came up with that radical procedure, and it was either do that or not pitch again that year, and you know, that I looked at that as the series, that Yankee series. That was what I was brought here to pitch. And then ultimately getting to the World Series, that was the series I was brought here to be a part of, and to miss that would have been tragic. And we found a way, and as a team, we did some things that nobody thought we could do.
Yeah, the Red Sox were 500-1 to win the final 4 games, so the Red Sox, of course, accomplished that. And then afterwards, you toured around with President Bush in his re-election campaign, and you mentioned that you have a close relationship with him. What was that like to help a president win a second term?
Well, I don't know how much I helped. I just know that it was any time you're in the presence of the President of the United States, it's an incredibly awe-inspiring thing. But he was you know, it's one of the things that I got to know about him, and he was a very honest man. And you know, I have, as I do with any elected official, I had differences, and I got a chance to ask some very important questions to me. Stem cell research is something I'm clearly involved in and interested in, and you know, during his time in office, he was against stem cell research and a lot of the things that we thought had potential healthy benefits for patients with neurological illnesses. We deal with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and we have for about 20 years, and I got a chance to talk to him about that, and it was while I didn't get the answers I wanted, I certainly appreciate the fact that the man was honest and upfront with me, and that's at the end of the day, that's all I ever want and ask of people.
Hi, Curt. You're on right now with Raphael. I want to thank you again for coming on. It's great to have you on.
Thank you.
Staying with what you were talking about, I wanted to know what it was like. I lived in New England for a year. I know it's a very liberal place, you could say. What was it like? I lived in Vermont. What was it like? Of course, I'm kind of conservative. I live in Israel, right-wing, Netanyahu fan, all that. What was it like knowing that the ownership of the Red Sox were helping campaign for Kerry at that time while you were on the
Well, it was not something I openly knew. I didn't care. But apparently when I went on Good Morning America and asked for people, you know, the comment was, please make sure you go out and vote Bush. That didn't go over well in New England. I probably received more hate mail, death threats, and negative outpouring from that one comment than anything I've ever done in my life. And you know, I applaud the fact I live in a country where you can openly and comfortably speak your mind about political situations and people. But it was a very negative result. Personally, it has been. I don't regret it. I believe what I believe, and because I believe it doesn't make me right. It just makes me who I am. But it didn't win me a lot of fans up here, and it's been something that cost our charity, the charities that we're involved in, a lot of money. People pulled out of our charities. People stopped giving to our charities, which is unfortunate. But you know, you understand that's just the way things work sometimes.
Right, and I mean, you got to do what you got to do, and you believe what you believe, and it's good that you didn't back down from that. And then, of course, in the next election, you backed Senator McCain, who's, of course, from Arizona, and you were spotted on the campaign trail with him. I'm a big fan of McCain. He's a big supporter of Israel. I was just curious what it was like meeting him and being around him a lot.
Well, Senator McCain has been a friend of mine. Being from I grew up in Arizona, right. So I've known Senator McCain a long time. And you know, I had a very simple approach to that situation. You know, the things that happened to Senator McCain during the Vietnam War and the things that he did as a prisoner of war, you know, when this man was in what you could call life's darkest moment and there were no TV cameras around, he made the moral and ethical choice that you hope all men make, and that was to stay with his troops, to not take the easy way out, to not take the you know, he could have been released. And he refused. And my opinion is anybody that makes morally and ethically right decisions when there are no cameras on is probably going to do the right thing when they are on. And I, you know, I didn't agree with everything, and I still don't. But I believed in the man. And at the end of the day, that's what I want. I want people leading this country who are morally and ethically strong human beings, whether they are male or female, I don't care. Black, white, I don't care. I want morally and ethically strong people who believe in what the foundation of what this country was built on. It's sad to think that we've gone to a place where we almost elect the best of the worst options. And that's not what this country was set out to be. But it's unfortunate sometimes that we get to those places. But you know, he's an incredible man. I wish he was a little younger because I really do believe he's what this country needs.
Right. The next thing I want to ask you is, there's been a lot of rumors that you might get involved in politics, that you want to get involved in politics. Of course, I'm not going to ask you to tell us right now on the spot, but down the road, do you see do you see that possibly happening with you? Is that something you'd be interested in?
Absolutely, doing? Absolutely. If I currently run 38 Studios, which is a software development company, and you can actually free plug here. You can check it out at 38studios.com. We have a game in the market, and I have almost 400 employees. So, you know, I kind of felt that it was time to stop talking about politics and actually get involved and make a difference. And I have a company that's created almost 400 jobs in what is the worst economy of our lifetime, and I'm very, very proud to be surrounded and associated with this company and the people. And you know, I'm in the private sector, and I understand a lot more than I did 5 years ago about government and business, and you know, it's not about Republican or Democrat. It's just about honest politicians. And you know, I've in moving my company to Rhode Island, I've dealt with politicians on both sides of the aisle, and I've come to realize that the political affiliation is not what makes people good and bad. It's what they do in the best interests of their constituents, and so this has been an incredibly eye-opening experience for me, and one that I absolutely, if I decide to run for a public office, will fall back on.
Now, Curt, you just mentioned 38 Studios. I was just about to ask you about that. I got to ask, how does an athlete, such a well-known baseball player, go into the, I guess you could say, the gaming sector? How did you get involved with that?
Well, let's be clear. I mean, from an interest perspective, being a professional baseball player doesn't make me different than anybody else. I've been a gamer my whole life, and,
right.
and it's what I've done. It's what I do. It kept me interested and kept me busy when I played baseball. You know, obviously, I had a pretty healthy income, so I didn't do jewelry or cars or anything like that. What I did was I came to play games, and it just kind of, after my career, manifested itself, and you know, it's just a byproduct of what I've done.
Right, and I understand that you, in 1993, I believe you were not able to attend the ASL Oktoberfest, so you decided to kind of create your own event.
Yeah, so I've been a board gamer my whole life too. I've been a very hardcore gamer for over 30 years, and you know, and even more poignant story was I have a cousin. I didn't have any brothers growing up, but I had 3 cousins that were boys, and the kid who I grew up with is almost a brother of mine, who I was looking for in the '93 season to invite him to the World Series. Couldn't attend, and I found out that why he couldn't attend about a year later when the movie Black Hawk Down came out. My cousin was in the Delta Force and was actually in Somalia, Mogadishu, and served in the Delta Squad that went in and out of Mogadishu a couple times in that movie. And I have a history of family members that have served, and I'm incredibly proud of that.
Absolutely. Everyone, of course, in Israel, we have the draft. Everyone has to go to the army here, so
Yep.
It means a lot to our country. Speaking of Israel, we are Israel Sports Radio. Have you ever been to Israel, Curt?
I have not. The closest I've been was in 2008. I had a chance to go and visit the troops in Kuwait and in Iraq. I spent 10 days in theater. Probably the 10 most incredible days of my life. Getting a chance to see up close and personal the sacrifices that the men and women of our armed forces and armed forces, NATO armed forces around the world have made, and it was an incredible experience, and I would love to go back.
Would you like to come to Israel one day?
I'd be fascinating to come to Israel. I'd be fascinated to do that. Like I said, right now I have 4 kids. I have 3 boys and a girl, and they're moving into high school, and
right.
and life is incredibly tumultuous for us right now.
Okay, well, anytime you're here, that'd be great. I know that Brad Osmus is going to be coming here for a baseball clinics. Believe it or not, there's an Israeli baseball league. A lot of kids.
Oh yeah, I know about that. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So a lot of kids are playing. It's becoming very bigger, which is really cool. The next.
So I remember a couple years back. I think the Pittsburgh Pirates signed 2 kids out of Israel to play in their minor league system.
Right, and of course we have Sandy Koufax, who's pretty much a legend everywhere, especially in Israel. And look at all the guys right now. We have Ian Kinsler, Kevin Youkilis, Ryan Braun. So it's a great time for Jewish athletes in the professional baseball world.
The very under-recognized segment of professional baseball, because there's some guys in the Hall of Fame with Jewish backgrounds, which is it's a testament to a lot of things.
Right. Now, the next thing I want to ask you is, you spent, I think, 8-9 years in Philadelphia, and then you spent your time with the Red Sox. Those are both, for our listeners out there in Israel, those cities are I don't even know how to put it, they're just crazy sports cities. They love sports more than anything in the world.
Well, they treat baseball in those cities like soccer, I guess you would call it over there.
Right. So I want to ask. I don't want to say which one was more. Which one was more difficult to live in, or with more pressure from the fans? But what was it like being able to spend a lot of your career in cities like that, where the ballpark's full every night, every game matters, so much pressure, so much support from the fans at the same time? What was that like?
Well, neither one was difficult, to be very, very clear. It was an honor to play in both of them, because when fans do the things that those fans do, they bring the level of intensity up in a way that nothing else can do. And I loved playing in both those towns, and I loved the pressure that the fans brought to the ballpark, because that's what I played for. That's what I wanted to be a part of, and it was an honor and a privilege to put both of those uniforms on and play for both of those teams. And I wouldn't trade those times for anything in the world. I wish we would have won more when I was in Philadelphia, but they were both awesome places to play.
Okay, the next thing I want to ask you about, we already talked about this with you a little earlier. You do a lot of charity work, and I think the organization you'd probably say you're the most involved with is the ALS Association. So can you tell our listeners more about what you do for them and exactly what the ALS is?
Yeah, ALS it stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, and it's known over here as Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a neurological illness that there is no cure, and it is fatal. It's something we've worked with for about 20 years. I met a patient named Dick Bergeron back in 1992. The other 2 charities that we're involved in is the Shade Foundation. My wife is a cancer survivor, and we work for melanoma awareness, and we also work with autism. My 12-year-old son is on the autism spectrum, so baseball afforded us a window of opportunity to reach out and make a difference in people's lives, and we've tried to take advantage of that. All the doors that God has opened up for us, we've tried to do our best in each one and make a difference in people's lives. Right,
and charity work is very important, especially when you have the time and when you have the power. I mean, people look up to you. A lot of people don't realize that an athlete, he also is very good at a sport, but he also has a lot of power of what people think.
Well, yeah, I mean, right or wrong, people tend to listen to celebrities more than they should, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that we have a responsibility as role models, as leaders, to try and do right by other people. And Shonda and I, my wife and I had almost over 20 years in that spotlight, and we tried to do as much as we could to make a difference.
Okay, that's really great to hear. The next thing I want to ask you about is you are, I guess, a part-time analyst for ESPN. That started a couple of years ago. I think you you did the pregame show in 2010 between the Red Sox and the Yankees at Fenway Park. Why did you decide to get involved with baseball analysts, and Where do you see that as a future?
There's two reasons. One, it's a tremendous group of individuals. I really enjoy the guys that I work with: Barry Larkin, Aaron Boone, Steve Berthiaume, Carl Ravitch. It's a phenomenal group of guys. And the second thing is I get to talk about the one thing I think I know a lot about, which is pitching. It's what I did for so much of my life, and the thing that I probably know as much, if not more, about than anything else I've ever done. And it's a format for me to talk to people and help people learn and understand what it is we try and do out there on the mound, and I enjoy that.
All right, Curt, last question. You're an honest guy, I'll be honest with you. Next summer, you're on the Hall of Fame ballot. You have an 11-2 career postseason record. That is the best in Major League Baseball history. 216 wins in the regular season, over 3,000 strikeouts. Are you a Hall of Fame player?
You know what? No, I played with Hall of Famers, and I know what they look like. I played with Randy Johnson. I played with Pedro Martinez, and I can see their names and faces on plaques, and I've never been able to see mine. And to be honest with you, I don't give it much thought, and I don't think about it unless I get asked. And I am incredibly proud of the things that I was able to be a part of during my career, and I'm okay. It's not something that, if it doesn't happen, will be a bothersome thing for me. I was oh my God, I lived such a blessed life, and I still do, and I'm grateful for that, and I don't need to get any. If it happens, that would be incredible, and I would be proud and honored, and I think it's as much a testament about who you play with as who you are, and but no, I mean, I don't know that I could comfortably put a check next to my name on that ballot.
I don't think I've ever heard an athlete say something like that before. But that was great. That was certainly honest. No one can dispute that. I could certainly make an argument for you again, and we certainly appreciate the time here on Lewis Live.
Thank you, guys.
It was really great. We would love to do it again. I know you're very busy, but sometime in the future would be wonderful. And Curt, thank you so much for being on Lewis Live and IsraelSportsRadio.com. Be well, Curt.
Take care, guys.